Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for African News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, a female suicide bomber injures several people as she blows herself up at a college in northwestern Nigeria. This goes off before she reaches her target, which police in Niger State believe is meant to be the library. Also, as the death toll from West Africa's Ebola epidemic jumps above 5,000, Mali reports its second confirmed fatality from the virus and 2 other suspected deaths. And we head to Ethiopia and a cafe where good food's not the only thing on the menu. Organisers are hoping to put local artwork on display, hoping that the country's growing middle class can see and maybe buy what's on offer. First up, as the death toll from Monday's college bombing in northeastern Nigeria was raised to 58, another school, this time in the northwest, was hit in a similar attack. A female suicide bomber injured several people as she blew herself up before reaching her target, which police in Niger State believe was the library. Well, Aminu Abubakar brings us more. Aminu, so Monday's bombing in Yobe State has widely been blamed on Boko Haram. Niger State's so far avoided attacks from the insurgency, at least for the last couple of years. A link, though, is likely to be made here.
Yeah, because it's very easy for people now to link the latest bombing in Kontagora to Boko Haram, which has been known to target Niger State, although it's been quite in the last 2 years in Niger, another to have the same state of attack on schools. And obviously the first suspect would be Boko Haram.
So what more can you tell us about the circumstances of today's attack?
Yeah, it happened about noon when a female suicide bomber blew herself up as she headed for the library where scores of students had gathered to prepare for their semester exams. And it's like the bomb went off prematurely and killing the bomber and hurting 4 other people, including 3 students and a bystander.
Now, the Nigerian government's under a lot of pressure to get a handle on the Boko Haram fight back. It doesn't seem to be having much luck so far. This week, its envoy to Washington slammed the U.S. for refusing to sell it weaponry to use against Boko Haram. Isn't that just passing the buck?
Yeah, it's like that's what many analysts believe that it's passing the buck because Nigeria has been budgeting $6 billion for the past 3 years, and it means $18 billion have been spent in the last 3 years in fighting Boko Haram, and it's expected that these monies would have been used to procure weapons. But so far, nobody knows where these monies have been used for, and now. And Nigeria and also the president just recently sought approval for another $1 billion loan to procure arms to fight Boko Haram. And people have been asking what the logic behind this $1 billion loan if $18 billion couldn't have changed the situation. So people have been asking where these have been used for, and then perhaps now, it's only now the Nigerian government is blaming the US for denying its arms.
Thank you very much, Aminu Abubakar there for us in Kano. Well, more than 5,000 people have now died in the Ebola epidemic ravaging West Africa. More than 14,000 have been infected. Whilst it looks like the rate of infection in some countries at the centre of the outbreak, like Guinea and Liberia, may be slowing, it's surging in Sierra Leone. On a visit there on Wednesday, the UK's Foreign Secretary, Philip Hammond, admitted the global response to the health emergency had been too slow and promised that 700 more treatment beds from the UK would be in place by January. Well, the deadly virus has also continued to pop up in new places. On Wednesday, just a day after authorities announced they were in the clear, Mali reported its second confirmed Ebola fatality and 2 other suspected deaths.
The 25-year-old nurse who died of Ebola worked in this clinic in Bamako. Doctors said he could have been contaminated by a Ghanaian patient who came here last month and has since died. The clinic has now been quarantined.
The premises of the private clinic where he was treated and the patient's home have been completely disinfected and placed under observation. The government informs the public that health services, with the support of their partners, are working hard to prevent the spread of the virus.
Among the patients in the clinic, there are some 20 UN peacekeepers who were injured during operations in northern Mali. The family of the clinic's employees are worried by the quarantine.
They are inside. They haven't washed, they haven't eaten, they have nothing, and the police are surrounding the clinic.
Last month, a 2-year-old girl who came from Guinea died of Ebola in western Mali. So far, the vast majority of the 5,000 people killed by Ebola have been in 3 countries: Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea.
A string of bomb attacks has killed at least 6 people in eastern Libya on Wednesday. At least 1 person died in a suicide car bombing in the border town of Tobruk. Until recently, it had been the stronghold for lawmakers rivaling another parliament in Islamist-held Tripoli. At least 5 soldiers were killed in another car bombing at the Al Abrak air base, and in Benghazi, where pro-government militia and Islamist fighters have clashed fiercely for weeks. As the war crimes trial of Democratic Republic of Congo's former Vice President draws to a close, on Wednesday, prosecutors in The Hague told the International Criminal Court that Jean-Pierre Bemba knew full well of the atrocities being committed by his private army sent into neighbouring Central African Republic in 2002. Bemba's soldiers were there to help put down a coup against President at the time, Ange Félix Patasset. The prosecution says that, as their military leader, Bemba was ultimately responsible for the rapes, murders and attacks on civilians committed by his fighters.
We ask the accused Jean-Pierre Bemba to be held responsible and guilty for the suffering of the Central African population. The proof in this case is that the soldiers who committed those atrocities were, throughout the period of the conflict, under the effective authority of Jean-Pierre Bemba.
South African opposition parties have released a report calling for a criminal investigation into President Jacob Zuma and his exit over the 18 million euros in state funds used to update his private home at Nkandla. Now, the document was put together by 7 rival parties in response to the findings of a parliamentary committee on Tuesday night, which cleared Zuma of wrongdoing. Now, they say the committee was manipulated by the ruling ANC party and its findings can't be trusted. Now, to look at one of the most high-end art events in East Africa, art collectors, buyers and enthusiasts came out to bid for works at an elite auction held at a top-end hotel in Nairobi. It's the second time the event has been held. First time round saw bids of over $215,000 for work on show. Now, the event's aimed at shining the spotlight on regional artists' work. Many say they find more success abroad. The event was pretty exclusive, but organisers hope the country's growing middle class will see more people being willing to splash out on luxuries for their walls. Meanwhile, in Ethiopia, entrepreneurs are also doing what they can to put local pieces on a platform where they're more likely to catch the eye of potential buyers. Take a look.
How to sell art in a country where people aren't used to buying it? Exhibit your paintings in a place where people with money are likely to come, a restaurant.
Well, you see, I cannot always go home for lunch, so I eat here often. I have bought a lot of art from this place too, to decorate my house and also my business space.
The man behind the gallery is Tesfaye Hiwot. This art and food enthusiast spent 27 years in the U.S. running an Ethiopian gallery/restaurant there too. 12 years ago, he decided to transfer the concept to Ethiopia. At the time, few nationals bought their own art pieces and artists struggled.
Before, it was very tough being an artist here, meaning you can't live on art alone. No one buys art even if you display your paintings at exhibitions. It was very difficult even to buy the necessary inks and things. Everything changed after galleries like Makush came onto the scene.
At first, the galleries sold more than 80% of the work to tourists, as some Ethiopians believed quality art couldn't be purchased because it belonged in museums. Gradually, more nationals started buying, and today the restaurant sells up to 250 paintings per month. The gallery comes at a right time. 3 decades ago, Ethiopia struggled to feed its population, but today it's one of Africa's fastest growing economies. Its middle class is emerging. More people are interested in art and have money to invest in it.
Good stuff. Well, that wraps up African news from me. Stay with us, so a short break and more news and headlines from around the world coming up.